person. Oh no. Well,
Listen, I got this. The family signs is the easiest thing to edit. I've got all of these.
I was gonna say most of them we've gotten through. They're very consistent. So, oh well, that just totally caught me. I was like, oh no. You know what? She's got teacher brain too. It's okay. We're all good. We're all good. So, like I was saying, so for worker, it's work person. Okay. And I think we did person before. I think we did. Yes, yes, yes. Because I think we did for Halloween. Okay, good, good, good. Because I was like, because there's person, but there is also with the P's person. That's more that English. So some people might do worker with the person, but you can do either one. Worker. Okay. Then we have manager. So for manager, we're going to do manage. So manage is going to be two X's. You're going to turn them sideways and you're going to go back and forth. Manage. This is also the sign for control. So, which I think makes a lot of sense because when you're managing something, you are controlling something. So, manager. So you add manager, manage, and then person. Manager. Manager. Okay. Then we have teacher. So we're going to do teach. So teach is going to be like two, I always say hand puppets, flat hand puppets. You're going to come to like the side of your head and you're going to go teach. This is teach. So for teacher, it's teacher, 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 teacher. I will say, I'll admit to this because you'll probably catch it. Sometimes when I'm doing teacher, I may just do teacher. Like it's one hand like this. Again, that is like that. Not, it's like shorthand. I keep wanting to say lazy. It's not lazy, it's shorthand. It's more kind of the flow of conversation. But this is still teacher. This is still teacher. Okay, either one. Then we have librarian. So librarian is going to be library, which is an L. You're going to go in a circular motion. Library person. Librarian. Librarian. See, it's really nice about doing these signs is that you pretty much are getting two signs in one. I don't know. I think that's always cool. All right. Our next one we're going to do is artist. So for artist, you're going to do the sign for art, which is going to have your non-dominant palm side up like this with your dominant pinky up. And you're going to go art. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see it, but you typically leave it like this. Art. So you just kind of do a squiggle back and forth on it. Art. 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 This is also draw if you're drawing like a picture. So artist. 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 Then we have, oh wait, I wanted to hold and go back. Okay, so let's go back. So we had work, which was work, work. Then we had worker, so work person. Then we had manager, so those X's, control person, manager. Sorry, if I over enunciate my fingers, sometimes I pull like a muscle. And I always try to over enunciate. Basically, I'm over enunciating with my hands. So if you do that, it kind of will hurt a little. Then we had teacher, teach, then teacher, teacher, teacher. Then librarian. So we had library, library person. Librarian. Okay. Then artist. So we had art, artist, artist. I try to like separate it like English, but it comes out very weird. Artist. Art. If I did art person, that's the ASL, but it doesn't always make a lot of sense. So, all right. Our next one is lawyer. So lawyer is going to be the sign for law. And the sign for law is non-dominant palm up. You're going to have your dominant in the state, and the sign of an L. You're going to go on the top and then bottom. So it's like lawyer or law. So it's like you tap the top and then tap the bottom. Lawyer. lawyer. Then we have chef slash cook. So for these, I have seen sometimes people without using the person or the person sign, they sometimes just kind of do this sign in general. Again, depends on the context. So the sign for cook is going to be non-dominant palm up. Dominant palm it can start really either way, palm up or palm down, but you're going to go cook, cook. So if you were going to be doing chef, you would do cook, person, cook, person. And then we have engineer. So engineer is going to have the sign for measure in it, okay? You would think engine, but no. They work with measurement, so it makes more sense. But I'm like, oh, we have artist, lawyer, cook, cook does not work that way. But engineer is going to be measuring because a lot of them do use measurement. So measure is going to be two Y's. You're going to have your thumbs touch, and then your dominant pinky is going to kind of come forward. Measure, measure. So engineer is measure, engineer, engineer, engineer. Now, I'm going to say this here because I know someone's probably going to ask me later. When you're getting more specific, like mechanical engineer or chemical engineer, anything like that, there are some ways you can sign them, which do kind of come into what we're going to be doing right after, like next. But also, if all else fails, you can just fingerspell chemical engineer as well, which I know no one wants to fingerspell chemical, but you can if you need to. So what I was going to say though is when you are doing like engineer or like chemical, mechanical, mechanical, I'm gonna hold on that one. I'm gonna wait to see if anyone actually wants that one, like needs it. If not, we'll just kind of gloss over it because this is only ASL 1. So for the next one we have is scientist, okay? So scientist is gonna have two A's and you're gonna pretend to pour beakers in science. This is science, okay? Science. So then if you're going to do a scientist, you would do science person, science person, science person. Now, cool thing with some of the science signs is that they have, I have seen these kind of used more for the different variations of sciences. So for example, chemistry cannot talk. Chemistry is chemistry with the C's, making that same motion. So it's like that pouring motion, but with the C's, chemistry. So so that's why I was saying chemical engineer, you could do chemical engineer, chemical engineer. Then we have biology. I've seen this one with the B's, biology, biology, making that motion again, biology. So, but if all else fails, this science still means chemistry. Oh my gosh, guys, I need to let go of the chemical engineer. It's just stuck in my brain for some reason. But science, this is all kinds of sciences still too. Okay. Actually not, I don't think, because there is a sign for research and research, like sign for researcher kind of deal. It is used more with the investigator as well. Those kind of go hand in hand. But if you were talking about like, oh, this is going to show my not familiar language, but like if you're talking about being like a scientific researcher or something like that, I would still add the science in it. But so the sign for researcher is going to be, sorry, I had to look at me doing it before I start describing it. You're going to have your non-dominant flat palm up like this. Your dominant's going to be a pointer and you're going to make that motion like you're looking through pages. So this is like investigate. So you would be like an investigator or a researcher. Oh, that's a good one. I've not had that one before. That's why I had to look at how I signed it because I've never had to do the sign for research in front of people before and describe it. Okay, golly, this list is just stubborn. Here we go. The next one is businessman slash businesswoman. This one is just like you can use kind of generalized. This is not very specific as in like what type of business or anything like that. It is just a generalized, I'm a businessman, I'm a businesswoman. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the sign for business, which is going to be two B's. Non-dominant turns it sideways. Well, now I'm resting it. Dominant is going to come across and it's going to go business, go back and forth across business. So business man, business man, then businesswoman, business woman, woman. I did not voice it. Businesswoman. I just went, woman. Okay. The next one we have, and then because I think we stopped with artists. So we have one more we can do. The next one we have is server / a waiter. And so what you're gonna do is very similar to our control, kind of our managed sign, except now it's two open hands like this. And you're gonna go server, server, server. This is the sign for serve. It also is a sign for services. If anybody works kind of in like the social work kind of field or anything like that, this is also services. Well, it could be
Would
any.
that be like the same sign for like a host or a hostess, or would that be something different?
That's a good question. You still could say this, but I would typically fingerspell I'm the host only because I am serving and helping people. Like I'm serving people, but I also want wanted to be clear, like I'm the hostess, like I'm in charge, like I'm the boss kind of deal, you know? At least that's how I would think it. But and also host is such an easy one to fingerspell, like that's not a very kind of word. So, but you could, I mean, you could technically do this. Like my house, I serve, that kind of thing. You could do that. Okay, let's go back to lawyer. So this list, sorry, my list keeps every time I'm zooming in so I can see what all's on here. To make sure I don't like miss one, it zooms out and I have to keep zooming back in. So we had lawyer, which was law, person, lawyer. Then we had chef / cook, chef, person. And like I said, this is just the sign for cooking in general too. So if you're talking about like you like to cook, even if you wanted to say that, you could do that. So chef. Then we had engineer, engineer, engineer. Then scientist, scientist, scientist. Excuse me. Then we have businessman, so business man or business woman. Okay. And this, like I said, this is also just business in general. So you could be like, I work my business, that kind of thing. You can say that too. Okay. Then we had server / waiter. Server. Server. Okay. Now, our next one is going to be astronaut. And so for astronaut, it's going to be the sign for rocket and then person, okay? So the sign for rocket is going to be your non-dominant arm side up. I mean, non-dominant side, palm up. I can't remember how I say it right now. Wow. The dominant hand is going to be in an R shape. And you're going to go rocket, 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 rocket. So you'll go rocket, person, okay? Rocket, person, that's for astronaut. Fun fact, real quick, I'm just gonna add it real quick here, I promise. There are some signs for towns that are like really popular that are more commonly used. And for example, Huntsville does have a name sign and it's Huntsville with the H because of the Rocket Space and Science Center up there. I just think it's very cool. So there's Huntsville. Okay, the next one we have is the military / like the army. This one is always one that I feel like kind of can get a lot of questions asked. So when you're talking about the military, there are some people do have signs for every single department of the military. So like Navy, Marines, so forth. I do not see those as common as like I would just see finger spelling them. Okay. But this one I do see for military. It's military and army. It's like both the sign. And it's going to be 2 A's. I keep sticking my thumbs up, but they're really not up. You're going to put one on top of your chest right here and then one on the side right here. and it's like holding the strap of your weapon. Military. This I've seen for military and army. And I've used that one for that. Okay. The next one we're gonna have is therapist. And then with that one, if any of y'all have specifics, let me know and I can give you the specifics, but I'm just gonna do therapist as a general for right now. So for therapist, you're gonna do the sign for therapy, which is gonna have your palm up. It's gonna be a T, and you're gonna put it on top and tap. Therapy, therapy, therapy. So if you're talking about being a therapist, you would go therapist, therapist, therapist. Okay. The next one we have is doctor. Interestingly enough, doctor does not add the person to it. It's just one sign and done. Okay. And so you're going to have your palm up. Your dominant hand is going to kind of have that bent hand again, and you're going to tap at your pulse, basically. Doctor, 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 doctor. I have seen some people do it with the D, doctor. Again, that is that more English, not ASL. So, but either way, doctor. Okay. We have like 3 more, I think, of my, yeah, 3 more. And then I promise I will leave it open for any questions you guys have. The next one is nurse. Nurse is similar to doctor. So palm up. It's going to be the 2 fingers now. Nurse, 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 nurse. Then we have president. So if you guys remember, we did president, I think a few weeks ago, more just as it was in the conversation. Yeah. I'm sure some people did not forget that one. So president's gonna be like C's on the side of your head that pull out. President. It's like they started C and ends in S. Okay, so C's to S. President. President. It is just the craziest sign to me. I don't know why, but it gets me every time. President. Okay. Then our last one was vice president. So VP, VP. If you were going to say you're the president of a business, that's when you would do like president business, like business president. Either way, flipping them that way. I'm trying to think of how I would do it. I mean, literally, that is the only thing that can make sense with this one being like the big bull. I just think about a longhorn. That's all I think about. And I'm like, why is that like president? How are those? I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I didn't think of, oh my gosh. I've been thinking moose, but now that I think about it, moose antlers are like, they don't go like that. There are a bunch of them. See, this, I was complaining because I was like, why does it look like a moose? Guess what? It doesn't. Because I don't even know what a moose looks like, apparently.
She's been over here like, it's not a moose, it's not a moose. Nope, yeah, it's not a moose. But yeah, I don't know. President just gets me. But it's the whole thing. It's president. So, and like I said, that one can be used for any type of president. So like even talking about the president of the United States or talking about president of a company, things like that, or the president of a organization, any of that sort is president. Okay. Let's do a quick review of those ones, and then I'm going to leave it open for any last other signs you guys can think of, or jobs, anything that questions you guys have. So we had astronaut, which was rocket person, or just one time and up. You don't have to do it double every time, but just one time. Person, astronaut. Then we had the military. So military/army. If you were talking about being an army man, I would do army person. I realized I did not add the person to it, but just the generalized army is this army. It's very hard to show it on here. Then we had therapist, which was non-dominant palm up with the T and you tap. So T, therapist, therapist, therapist. Then we had doctor, doctor. This one, the way to remember is always checking your pulse. And then nurse, nurse with the 2 fingers. Yep, nurse. Then we had president, 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 and then vice president, VP. Okay. Are there any other jobs that you guys could think of that you are curious about sign-wise, or anything you guys can think of? They don't have to necessarily be jobs that you have questions about. Janitor. That's actually a good one. I'm trying to think because We do cleaners. That's like how we sign. It's like you would sign for cleaners. So the sign for cleaners is going to be the sign for clean. So this is clean. It's like you're repeatedly or like sweeping and like wiping. So cleaners, cleaners, cleaners. Garbage collector. Okay. I love these because I don't get all these. I always get different ones every time and I love it. So for garbage collector, all right, this is going to be an interesting one, guys. So bear with me. It's going to be a couple signs. So you're going to do the sign for trash first. Okay. So the sign for trash, I'm going to lift this up high. You're going to have your non-dominant arm in this like diagonal fist. You're going to start with your pointer finger here, kind of like midpoint, and then you're going to bring it down to your elbow. Trash. You can just kind of swipe trash. Trash. So trash and then collector is going to be, so collector is like palm up and collect. Collect. If you remember like when we did win, it's kind of similar to that win. Collector. So trash collector. Trash collector. Okay, that is a good question. So if like the assumption of this is being singular, or how would you talk about multiple? So I have to think of a sentence. If I'm talking about wow. If I'm talking about many teachers, I typically am going to add the word many, or I'm going to add a specific number. I don't think we talked about this, but how would you identify plural versus singular in ASL? The cool thing is there's really not, you just add a number to it. So there's no changing of the sign. So like, that was actually a good one I should have done with family. When I'm talking about siblings I have, or sisters, I only have one, but let's say I had two sisters. I would be like I go, sisters, me have two. I'd be like, or I say sisters, two sisters. That would be how I would tell the difference between having one sister versus two, three, so forth. But are you like also if you're talking about having like many different jobs, is that what you mean? Because I am sitting, because I'm rereading it again and I'm like, maybe not. If you were talking about many as a whole, yes.
Yeah, more so just the like if you how you would like denote like, yeah, I need multiple workers or I need multiple doctors or yeah, then you would probably just add that like you said, many or the number that you needed, maybe.
And with that too, that was actually a really good one is if you were gonna say like you need multiple, but you kind of have like when we do like a few, some, there are some signs for that. I will show just briefly. Some is like going a hand across, some. This is also like cutting it in half kind of deal. But yes, so some workers, I'm like going way too fast, some workers. But if you're talking about a few workers, a few is an interesting one. You start kind of like this and you pull your fingers out. Few, few, or few, few. It's like you start with them touching and pull out to the W. Few, few. But you could always be like, I need like 3 workers. I need, but if you just kind of need a general, I would do many workers or some workers. I need. And then they'll probably ask you how many, and you could be like 3, 4. I'll go bouncing back and forth, like however many I need. Kind of like, just depends kind of deal. So unemployed, I think you just say not working, not working. That's what I had to think about. I was like, I don't think, let's say not working. Or I'd be like none, like work, none right now. Like I have nothing right now. That. Driver, okay, that's a good one. So if you were a driver, now for this one being like, I'm going to do cab, lift, all of those, what you'll do is you would finger spell. So cab driver, lift driver, what's the other one? Why am I losing it? The Uber driver, that. So for driver, you're going to do the sign for drive, which is 2 S's, and you're making the motion of the wheel. So driver. So if you were going to say you're a cab driver, you'd be going CAB, cab driver. Same with Lyft or the Uber. I would finger spell those. Any others? I know we're over the 6:30 time, but any others you guys have questions on? Try to make sure I didn't miss any. No, I think we're good. Okay. So, I know we didn't get to the phrases.
We can
This-
push well, I will take that section of the worksheet and
Mhm.
put it on miscellaneous. So that'll be the last week.
Yeah.
And then also for any of you that have, or if you think of signs for occupations during the week, email me and I can send a message to Jillian so that we could do those. If if we have a couple, we could do those at the beginning of the next lesson. So
Yes,
um,
definitely.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it.
Alrighty. Be warned, next week is food and animals. And I always like to warn everybody, food makes me hungry. Every time we do food, I get hungry. So either snack before or be ready to be starving by the end of the class because I'm telling you, my stomach growls every time. So just a little heads up. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week, and I will see you guys all next Tuesday. Bye, guys.